Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Irn-Cru podcast, an NFL podcast made in Scotland by NFL lovers. You are listening to and watching the Review Crew, and I am your host, Brian, the conscience of Cleveland Donlan. Now, week 8 is wrapped up. Well, wrapped up-ish. We've got Monday Night Football to go, but more about that later. We've had one of the busiest weekends of football because for reasons that I don't understand, they just decided not to have any buys in week 8. But I'm not complaining. It meant that we got a full slate of games over the weekend, and we've got lots and lots to talk about tonight, folks. Now, don't worry. As always, we will be kicking off with our kickoff question in a moment, and we will, as always, have our statistic of the week. And it's a double statistic this week, so even more to look forward to. Now, remember, folks, like, subscribe, follow the crew. You can find us on YouTube, on Twitch, on Threads, on Twitter, now known as X, wherever you get your podcasts as well, you can find us. So remember, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and help grow the community. Now, as always, do you know what? Actually, I was going to say, as always, I'm joined by some of the finest crew members. I'm joined by one fine crew member and two crew members who need a bit of a cuddle and just to be told that it'll all be okay. Now, we'll start with the person who knows that it's going to be all okay, because not only is he flying high as an eagle, but he is flying high at the top of the NFL tree, all on his own, ladies and gentlemen. Kev, how are you doing, mate?
I'm fantastic, Brian. Thanks. I must be honest, watching the game at the weekend, I wasn't so sure I was going to get that sort of introduction coming on tonight, but all's well that ends well. So I'm pretty pleased, feeling good about the season so far.
Never in doubt, mate. Never in doubt. And now you are the only team sitting there, 7-1, undisputed week 8 champions, which feels like a bit of an ominous title to get a team. I think I might be.
Did they give out rings?
I might be doing the job of the old preview crew and just giving you the old hex here. But all things, they say it's always sunny in Philadelphia. So it certainly seems to be at the minute. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that was the happy piece of the introductions. That was what we got to have joy in our lives, because everybody else on the pod is miserable as feck. Gav, I'm going to come to you first, mate. It was looking quite promising. And to be fair, when we get to talking about the games, you've got a very interesting game to talk about. However,
I like punts.
I'm glad you like punts. You absolutely get your money's worth then, mate. Something we're going to talk about tonight is basically the fact that the New York Giants, I actually think I can see the fire from my window, mate. How are you feeling? How was yet another weekend of interesting football for you?
I'm just thinking, I could probably pick up any member of the Giants roster myself for a wee bargain at the moment. We seem to be a selling team.
The moment. Just loving it, the idea that we're going to clip this onto the YouTube, and we're just going to see Saquon bringing Gavin a cup of tea. It's just giving a more lucrative job helping Gav out around the kitchen.
Yeah, sending a conditional 7th rounder and a couple of curly whirlies.
Well, ladies and gents, we are going to be talking about people moving in very short order. But unfortunately, folks, it is going from the misery of New York to the misery of Green Bay. Liam, it's just not going well, mate. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm looking forward to watching college games now, I think. That's what I probably want to do, isn't it? So watching college games, find out who's coming next year, shall I? See what players are coming up. So
That's it. What nobody that listens to the pod knows is that Liam actually only moonlights as a Green Bay fan. He's actually a die-hard Sooners fan. That's his real team. He's really into the college game. That's what it's all about. Oh, mate. Yeah, it was... Again, we're not going to go into it now because we are going to go into it as one of our featured games of this evening. But it was not only a loss, a divisional loss at that, which always makes it that wee bit sorer.
It was going into the weekend though. I'd already made my peace with the result, so that was all right. I survived
Well,
it fine. So
you
move
know,
on to next week to make the peace again. So
you know what? I was going to mention this later, but you've kind of led me to it now, mate. It's an odd position for a Green Bay fan. Are you kind of sitting here, because you did mention this, to be fair, in the off season, where you're kind of looking at the year going, do you know what? We are full build rebuild mode. We are full bore rebuild mode, I should say. There is no pretension of Green Bay maybe sneaking a playoff spot through a wild card. Maybe if Jordan Love turns out to be better than we thought. But realistically, this is just all about the rebuild, and we're looking ahead. It's not a position that you're used to being in. So it must feel a bit weird.
oh, it's nice to see what other NFL fans have to deal with, so it's interesting. So
Well, this is true. It's been my life for about the entirety of my NFL fandom. It's, oh well, guys, it's always next year. It's just a bit sad when you're saying that in week 4. Right, okay. Do you know what, gentlemen? As I look to the comments and I roll up my sleeves and I decide that Bouncing Off the Ropes podcast, I'm not having your nonsense and I'm not having it. Oh no, do you know what? I misread. It's okay for Bouncing Off the Ropes podcast. I don't need to shout at you. You've not impugned the good name of Baker. I thought you were going to say terrible things about Baker and that he was costing the Bucs games. Baker is a saint, but the Bucs are falling apart. But it's okay for a 4th round pick. You can send him back to Cleveland and we will take him off your hands. Deal is done. Make it so. Right, okay. Now that I've done living in a fantasy world, we are going to get stuck in, guys. We are going to go with our kick-off question of the week. Now, there was only one place to take the kick-off question this week, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow, it is trade deadline day. It is buy, sell. So, our kick-off question of the week is a double header. First, for your own team, who is the player or what is the position group that you think you need to target to just move forwards and to try and be that, in the case of Kev, push you on towards those playoff dreams, those Super Bowl dreams. In the case of the Browns, I'm going to say pushes towards the playoff. I don't think I can pretend about the Super Bowl anymore. Playoff dreams, I think, are still alive. Gav and Liam, it's all about dignity, boys. It's all about dignity. And the second half of the question is looking around the league, who is just a team that you feel are desperately in need of, again, a player, a position group upgrade. So, Gav, I will come to yourself first, mate. So kick us off with your beloved G-Men. Who do you think, or what position group do you think you really need to dial in on? This is obviously hot on the heels of the fact that you've just punted Leonard Williams to the Seahawks and I can't even remember what it cost the Seahawks, but I don't think it was all that much.
Yeah, it was a 2nd rounder and a 5th rounder. But I guess with the way you're expecting them to go, that's probably going to be mid-round picks. The way things are heading, but yeah, not bad compensation, all things considered. I mean, let's be realistic. I think we know that the Giants at 2-6 now. They're looking like a selling team. Obviously, Williams is gone. There is chat that a few others are certainly on the block ahead of deadline day tomorrow. I mean, if you want to make it about position groups, then absolutely. I think the offensive line has been the massive question mark for the Giants all along. I guess in the short term, though, what we saw with last night's game, we'll probably come on to that in a minute, is our quarterbacks are dropping like flies. And I think just to give us a wee bit of dignity, we might need some fresh blood in the QB room over the next few weeks.
Well, do you know, mate, I am right there with you, and I'm going to just come in. I'm going to get me out of the way now, because I'm right there. The one position group the Browns need, and it's where I'm actually a bit upset at some things that have been playing out over the league for various reasons, is that the Browns need Jacoby in. It's the easy fit. It's a scheme fit. He knows the team, all the rest of it. Is that the kind of player that you would like to see the Giants? Now, obviously, it's a bit more complicated with yourselves, given that he's in Washington. But is that the kind of man that you would want to see, or is there another QB out there somewhere that you would think, no, do you know what? I'd prefer a Foles, for example.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, we've got to think about what the Giants' circumstances are. This is a team which is really, I mean, certainly from the players' perspective, we don't know about the front office, but the players certainly playing for pride at this point. I think you do need an experienced hand that's really just going to kind of steady the ship and keep them in games, because we're definitely seeing with the defense are doing a job at the moment. I think they've averaged 10 points given up over the last 3 games. So, I mean, if you can just get something out of that offense, then you're going to be in a position to compete. But as we'll talk about later, I mean, the play calling from Dabo last night just shows there's no confidence in Tommy DeVito to get the job done.
So, hang on, you mean that uncast member of The Sopranos that you put in at quarterback doesn't have the backing of the entire Giants coaching staff? I am stunned. Oh, right. Okay, we'll shift on. We're going to come back to you in a couple of minutes, Gav, so you can have a think about who is your one player for another team anywhere around the league that you think needs to be making a big move. Liam, we'll come to you next. Like, Kev, I'm leaving you at the end, mate, because you are in that very different boat in terms of Dales, and you are very much looking at win. So it's all win now, obviously, for the Eagles. The rest of us mere mortals are a wee bit different. Liam, what about yourself? What about your beloved Packers? Who is the player? What is the position group that you feel you guys need to add? I don't know. Do I say have a chance in the NFC North, or do we accept that ship sailed and you're just trying not to?
Well, we're coming to there. We might even still have a chance in second. You never know at this rate. We'll come on to it.
Well, we're going to get onto that, and you're not wrong.
A bit like Gav, I think we need some O-line. If we're not going to do it because where we are, we're not going to trade for any players. But an O-line help would be good. We lost Bakhtiari. I can never say his name. It's terrible. Dave Bakhtiari to a season injury early in the season, left tackle, and we've just our offensive line. It's just not been great, has it? And give Love some time to actually make some plays, make some actually get Jones running a bit better. So that's where if we need anything, that would be handy. But we're not going to do it. So we'll just have to carry on with what we've got.
It's the interesting thing, I suppose, with Green Bay, in that for 25, 30 years, you've not to say that Green Bay would like year after year of terrible offensive line play or anything silly like that. But even when you would have had poor offensive line play, you've had 25 to 30 years of Hall of Fame level quarterback play. So even if your line has been subpar, you've had somebody stood behind it that could bail them out. Whereas now the big change in Green Bay, you don't, you need that line to give Love the time to try and do. I don't know if I would even say live up to the promise anymore. I don't know that we're really even seeing glimmers of hope from him, but live up a chance to give out respectable scorelines.
Yeah, well, to fair to Love, it's not. Well, I'll come on to that later, but there's just stuff going wrong all over the place. It's drops, it's wide receivers running in the same places. So it's just like, I can't remember the stat. I think we have got the youngest squad in the NFL. I think by age.
There's one that I'll Google while somebody's talking later. That's
I think it's that. But not that it's really an excuse, because I kind of said at the start of the season that'll be the reason we're we'll come on to a game eventually, once they've got the rookie mistakes out of the way. But every other team's got rookies and are doing better. So
I can confirm that you do have the youngest squad in the league with an average age of a plucky 25, which is quite a thing. Yeah. Right, okay, thank you very much, mate. So again, you can have a wee think. The second half of this we'll do in pretty rapid fashion. Kev, we are coming to you. Now that you are the one person who'll be sat there looking at this trade window going, it's about buying. Whereas, no offence to Gavin Liam, they'll both be sat there with teams who will be more sellers in this market than they will be buyers. They'll be trying to build picks and add potential for future years. Eagles are all about right now. You made it to the big dance last year. You are 7-1, top of the tree this year. You must have eyes on it. Who helps you get over the line?
It's really difficult, mate. It's so hard. I mean, to be honest, I'm sitting here thinking we're looking really strong. We've got great options all over the offense. And to be honest with you, I'm thinking probably do similar to what we done last year, and bring in a couple of reinforcements for the D line, just just to try and stiffen it up in case we get injuries, etc. But see, at the same time, if something becomes available, something mega, like obviously last year the Niners picked up CMC. There's talk about Derrick Henry being available for a trade, and I would absolutely love to see Henry come to the Eagles, if that became a possibility. But I think we've been really good, both in the draft and in trades the last so many years. So I'm sure whatever we do will make us stronger. And if we don't do any business, then I'm quite happy with what we've got right now.
Well, the bold Howie is frankly terrifying at both drafting and trading. I'm genuinely convinced he must have downloaded like every NFL GM's WhatsApp. He must have it downloaded onto his own phone. It's the only way he's getting away with this. The King Henry one's interesting because when Dan's been pitched into us on YouTube saying he would like to see King Henry going to the Cowboys. Now, the Titans have obviously said that as things stand, they've got no intention of trading Henry, which I find bizarre. But can you imagine Henry behind that Eagles O-line? Jesus! He destroys behind the Titans O-line, and I'm fairly sure I could get a game on the Titans O-line. What would he do behind the Eagles line?
It'd be pretty frightening. It would be pretty good.
That's all sorts of scary. Although I'd love it just to see Henry go to the Eagles and the Eagles still run a committee back system. Even with Henry, inexplicably Boston Scott's appearing for touches.
Or Henry pushing Hutz for the brotherly shove.
So you need more strength behind the brotherly shove. Jesus. Right. Okay. So we'll rattle around quickly. I'll kick us off with teams that need to add, and it's the big emphasis is on need. And I'm actually going to be a cop-out merchant, and I'm going to stick with Henry, and I'm going to say the big team that I think should really be making a move for Henry, and it galls me to say it. It's the Ratbirds. All the chat's been about the Ravens, making calls about them, looking into them, and it is the Ravens are. Excellent team. Oh, I need a shower. They are an excellent team, but they have had injuries to that running back room. They are sat there. Nothing against Gus Bus, nothing against Justice Hill, but there's a reason that they weren't starting running backs before the season started. You bring in somebody like Henry, you add them into that room. I think that it certainly means the Ravens can lean on the big identity that they've built of being the big run-first, smash-mouth offense that they are. And yeah, it would make them pretty terrifying. Gav, come to you, mate. What is your one other team around the league? Who's your one big move you think somebody else needs to make? What do you reckon? And I'll remind you, you're on mute.
Always eagle-eyed in the mute. So I think right now, it's probably the 49ers are the team that you think they started off strong. They're now in a 3-game skid. And they're one of these teams that have been in that position for a while. I think they're ones that think we need to add something into the mix just to kind of steady the ship. I think the big challenge for them, though, is actually that they've got big names in all the right positions already. They've got Christian McCaffrey. They've got George Kittle on the offense. They've got a fantastic defensive front. The challenge they have is actually their Brock Purdy's just getting a wee bit antsy at the moment. I don't think I certainly wouldn't expect them to move on from him. But how can you give a guy help when actually he's got a lot of talent around him already? Does that need to be maybe a slot machine just to give an extra target, someone to check down to? It feels like, and Shanahan has actually said today that he believes the answers for their team are already in the building. But I just look at a team in that situation and think they could use just even one more piece.
Yeah, it's that interesting one where it's they need the Jarvis Landry style player, as I bring up one of an old wide receiver favourite of mine, who was Jarvis Landry will get you 4 yards. If you need 3 yards, he will get you 4 yards. If you need 7 yards, he will get you 4 yards. And that is what he's there for. So yeah, it's an interesting idea, that short yardage comfort blanket receiver. It's an interesting one. To be fair with the Niners, it's how do you one up the trading for CMC last year? And the only way you one up that is if you somehow trade for Pat Mahomes, which I somehow don't feel is all that likely. I shouldn't do that. Just defy belief. Right, Liam, what about yourself, mate? Who's give me a one team around the league and the one position, the one player you think they need to add?
I think I've kind of touched on this in some of the other pods about the Bills. I think they need to shore up their defensive players they've lost. Milano for this. I don't know if it's ever been confirmed for the season, but he's out for a considerable amount of time, whatever it's out for.
Active period of time.
Now they've kind of got into another got their bad games out the way on winning again at the weekend. Get another linebacker in. I don't know. Pick them up from obviously everyone thinks the Broncos are a selling team, but maybe not anymore after this weekend. And I don't know, or you could even go down maybe the Vikings. Maybe now, who knows what they do? Mm-hmm. We'll touch on later what happened with them, but pick up a quality linebacker from somewhere. I think would shore up things for them.
Yeah, and you look ahead at the Bills' schedule, and they are absolutely going to need it. The Bills have obviously been active; they've just picked up Fournette, so added that into their offense. But they're going Bengals. Sort of the Bills' remaining games of the year, they need to deal with the Bengals, the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, and the Dolphins. And that's me ignoring the Pats and the Chargers. Yeah, okay, the Broncos and the Jets are also in there as well, but they're a whole other thing. So I think that's fair to say. Help on defense is never a bad thing, and the Bills certainly look like they need it. Kev, round off this segment for us, mate. What is the one other team around the league that you reckon need to bring somebody in, and who do you reckon it should be, or where do you reckon it should be?
Right, I'm going to use this opportunity to try and get Rojo a move somewhere. So let me just try and.
ladies and gents, as I rudely interrupt, Kev, for those who possibly don't know Kev's backstory, Kev is the ultimate Rojo fantasy truther, and he has an absolutely unbelievable amount of Rojo shares that he's unwilling to drop. So on you go, Kev. Manifest positivity.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that. I was just joking. Do you know? I'm looking at the Dolphins, right, and see, after the conversation we had the other week, I would have said the Dolphins really need to beef up their D-line, or add some pieces in defensive backs or whatever. However, I think, for them, I think they're quite comfortable with the fact that they're just going to go out and try and outscore teams. And I think if they were to add one piece that kind of can keep them relevant and hopefully push them all the way to the Super Bowl, then it would probably be another running back now that they're missing A-Chain. I don't know how long he's out for, but
looking back in 2 weeks, I think.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, was it Ramsey made his debut?
Yeah, looked good.
There, so they've added a bit of strength to the D there, and I think for me, if I was the Eagles, I'd be looking to try and add another quality running back. So not Rojo, but probably. I mean, somebody like Henry maybe doesn't fit the bill for them with a style of offense, but if there's somebody out there that could come in and give them another lift at their running game, I think that's probably what I would be looking to do.
It's the odd one that with them, the one running back that would jump into my head immediately that would fit the Dolphins scheme and the Dolphins offensive velocity would be the one, the only DeAndre Swift, who is that type of quick. He's that type of all-speed player. So yeah, it's an interesting one. Right. Okay,
I'm
chaps.
getting them.
That is us. We're warmed up. We're ready to roll. Let's get stuck into some of these games for the weekend. So yes, it is obviously that time, folks. We had a big full slate of games in week 8. We are not going to cover all of them because the lecky isn't free. But we are going to kick off, Kev, with yourself. We are going to be talking Eagles Commanders. Now, before we came onto the pod, ladies and gentlemen, me and Kev were having a chat about this, and I will tell you all what I was saying to Kev, and it is the big thing that intrigued me most about this game was on paper, most people would be saying that the Eagles should be making pretty short work of the Commanders. But sport isn't played on a piece of paper. And for reasons that make no sense to me or most sane, rational people, bogey teams exist. And my God, the Commanders really are the Eagles' bogey team. Now, Kev, as we've said, you did come away with a win. It was not a comfortable evening for you. So talk us through it, mate. Talk us through how your nerve-wracked Sunday evening was.
Aye, you're absolutely spot on. The Commanders last season, we struggled badly, and then in both games, I think we split the games with them last year, if I remember right. And then this year, 2 really tough games. A walk off field goal to win the last game against them, and then really, really tough day at the office. And for the first half, I thought it was going to be another one of those days like we had against the Jets. Nothing seemed to be going right again. That we had a brotherly shove that we actually turned the ball over. So not only did we not get the yard that we needed, but we turned over possession. And I thought this is just a sign that nothing's going right for us. But then AJ just showed that he is absolutely elite. He turned up, made some amazing plays, big catches. Everything that then just seemed to start to click. DeAndre Smith was picking up big yards, driving us up the field. What can I say? In the end, it was much more comfortable than it suggested it was going to be for much of the game. But just a typical game against the Commanders lately.
Well, it is the really interesting ones with yourself and the Commanders, because, as we say, the game, as I'm trying to find it, when the game finishes 38-31, you would look at that and say, right, okay, so the Commanders have been in it, but it's it's the Eagles game, it's their ball, but the Commanders were ahead for up to the half.
Yep.
It took, and then you had that big fourth quarter. We've seen what, as Brian tries to do quick maths in his head, 35 points hit the board in the fourth. So, it was a huge fourth quarter. Sam Howell putting in a game and absolutely showing us that he is, if he can be kept upright, a player that is potentially got a serious future in this league. But as you say, the brotherly shove didn't go your way. I'll be honest, I was watching. I thought that was maybe the beginning of the end. But your mighty Eagles discovered the brotherly sweep. Who knew that was a thing?
I know. Well, do you know what? It's amazing it's taken us this long to do it, because now teams are just, packing everybody in there to try and stop us. There's huge space to exploit there. But yeah, see, we had that possession. I thought, right, we're going to level it up here. We'll be fine. We turned it over. We went 2 scores down, and I thought, no, this is just not our day. But fair play to the whole team. The defense, struggled to stop Howell and the Commanders' offense, and then they hung in there. They kept on doing what they could to get us the ball back, and then Hurts and the offense just finally clicked, got it together. And like I said, we've got weapons. We've got a committee there at running back. We've got elite wide receivers, or certainly at least one proper elite wide receiver, and some good options. Julio Jones coming in as well, giving us
Julio
that
Jones, the revival.
Coming in there and giving us again another option. Overall, it was a good day at the office. It'll give us belief that we can dig it out. Because obviously after that Jets game the other week, you worried that when the guys when things aren't working, that maybe they just run out of ideas. But they proved in this game there that even against a team that always makes it tough and it seems like nothing's going our way, we just keep digging in, and we've got the quality to get the win.
Well, you say that, Kev, and here's one I want to kick it to Gavin, Liam, to yourselves, gents. So it's two other denizens of the NFC. You must look at games like that. And don't get me wrong, yes, okay, we know the Eagles walked through with the win, but the Commanders kept themselves in it for 3 quarters. 3 quarters the Commanders were in that game. That must make you look at the Eagles and go, yeah, you're good, but you're not untouchable. So it must be some. Where do you guys taking that? Are they a team they are just that much better? They just are, and we just accept that they're sat at the top of the tree. Or is it a team that, yeah, okay, you've got some games at the minute, but we're not a million miles behind you. Maybe not your two's specific teams in this one. Other teams may apply. What do you think, boys?
I was thinking, I suppose they're kind of showing that way when they lost the Jets game, already this season. But when I've seen what I've seen of them, they still don't. You feel there's still kind of more to come, which is kind of slightly worrying from them. Like they're just not quite hitting all cylinders. I don't know quite what it is. I say, like, you look at AJ Brown's stats and it's crazy, like this week, sort of thing.
Record breaker.
There just seems to be something, you think they're just going to go up a notch. Maybe. Hurts didn't really run very much. I don't know think he got many rushing yards. Like all last season, that was a cheat code. So just saving that for the winter months when everyone's slogging it. So.
Yeah, on this one last night, Hurts 4 carries, 6 yards, really nothing on the ground whatsoever. He did chuck the ball 29 times. Well, he chucked the ball 38 times, and 29 completions for 319 yards. But still, yeah, there's bits that we're not quite seeing. What about yourself, Gav? When you look at I'm sorry, Commanders fans, that I'm kind of ignoring your team here, but you did in the end of the day lose, and nobody's talking about you. We've gone to the Super Bowl. When you look at the Eagles, Gav, how are you taking them at the minute?
I think if you're comparing them to sort of seasons past, you're not looking at them as like, I don't know, a Patriots or even a Chiefs side you think are completely untouchable. I mean, no arguing with the record. I think they're, the best record in the NFC, best in the league, and deserve to be there. But I think we've seen that, there is opportunities for some teams to win. I guess if I would, if we're talking about the Giants, I mean, I think the thing is, if we take what the Commanders did as a template, I would just be worried about the Giants trying to score anything over 10 points in offense, and it didn't go particularly well for us in any of the 3 games with the Eagles last season. So. Yeah, I think there'll definitely be a few kind of trips and stumbles along the way for the Eagles, but I don't think it's going to be coming from the Meadowlands area.
Well, right. Can I just say that I think that our division, maybe with the exception of the Giants, is extremely strong. And I know that people look at the Commanders and think, nah, but I think they're a really decent outfit. The fact that they're in there with us and with the Cowboys, and the Giants had a really good season last season as well. So there's real good competition in our division this last couple of years. And I think that, having the strength the Eagles and Dallas can only kind of bring up the level of the Giants and the Commanders as well. And I've been really impressed with the Commanders. Obviously, because they've given us such a hard time the past 4 times we've met. But I think it's a good division, a strong division.
Yeah, I don't think. Well, yeah, I think
it's underrated.
G-Men aside this year, but yeah, I think you've got 3 very solid teams in there. Right, okay, guys, we are going to move on. It is time, and if nobody gets this reference, by the way, I'm going to be raging because it's time to talk about how you can walk like a man, talk like a man, walk like a man, my son. It's the Jersey Bowl. That was from Jersey Boys, by the way. And it's not in their musicals. So it was the Jersey Bowl. It was the battle of New York Jets up against the much maligned G-Men. It was a game that I don't think many people were looking forward to this game. I think it's fair to say that this wasn't one people had up as their game of the week, and it wasn't a high scoring affair. But it was a really fascinating game, and it was, even as a complete neutral watching it, it was something that it kept me interested the whole way through. Gav, talk to me about your beloved G-Men and your battle with Zach Wilson and those pesky Jets.
The ineptitude bowl. Yeah, I guess this is. I mean, where to begin? I mean, I think we had 24 combined punts over the course of this game. And the crazy thing is, I mean, the Giants had, I think, -9 passing yards.
Yes, they did.
In this one. Yet, with 3 seconds on the clock, they were looking at a win in this game. I guess, I mean, we should probably talk about the Jets as well, but go for the Homer stuff first. I mean, the Giants. I guess they had to recover from the loss of Tyrod Taylor fairly early on in the game. He's had quite a
that is not a statement
injury.
anybody expected to say this season, ladies and gentlemen. We had to cope with the loss of Tyrod Taylor.
But I mean, I guess the couple of things. I mean, the Giants' defense, mentioned it earlier, it has been solid over the last 3 games. I mean, even if we forgive the sloppiness, and that's on the final Jets drive, that's going to be hard to do. They had a great game today. Gave on Thibodeau 3 sacks. He was really getting after Zach Wilson all afternoon long. So there's a lot there. Saquon, they just ran into the ground. I mean, he was up, I think, 130 yards or so for the game. Not a spectacular average. And I've got to say, given that he's on a 1-year deal, his agent's probably terrified about what the rest of the season looks like. We'll give him a crumb of comfort. Tommy DeVito was at one point looking like a hero with his goal line run for the go-ahead touchdown. But we could talk about that. But there's obviously things that went horrendously wrong. And credit to the Jets. So they did have to mount a quick drive at the end of the regulation to get that. Field goal. There's 2 big completions from Zach Wilson to Garrett Wilson and Alan Lazard, and they were rapid in getting up the field to spike the ball. I genuinely didn't think they were going to make it, but no, they were in position, got that booted through, and took us into overtime. I guess, though, we should probably talk about some of the blunders that actually preface that. So the Giants did have a chance to see it out. It was not a good day for our Scottish contingent. Jamie Gillan shanked a couple of punts. I suppose that's going to happen. That is going to happen when you kick the ball 12 times in the game. But I think
actually, come on now, 13 times.
13. Sorry, I'm still away. But Graham Gano, probably more pertinently, missed one from 47. I've seen him playing against the Giants kick it from 63 before, several years ago. But I mean, 47 for an NFL kicker, you expect him to make it, but probably more to the point, with less than a minute left in the game, to miss from 35 to shank that chance to put the game away. I guess the thing is, given the state of the Giants as a whole, he may still keep his job. But I think if you're in a more competitive team, we talked earlier about who's shopping for additional pieces. He's definitely going to be in the hot seat this week.
It's one with the Giants. Now, this is one, I'll be honest. Like, I knew that obviously the Giants, they were starting Tyrod Taylor. So we should mention first that they've lost times. And any team losing your starting quarterback's massive. It's, as a rule, not something that you recover from not having your starting QB for more than a game or so. So they were starting Tyrod. They lost Tyrod early. You then go to Tommy DeVito. And you then realize that you're playing Tommy DeVito at quarterback and relying on him to do much is probably not a wise plan. So you hand Saquon the ball 36 times. Now, don't get me wrong, fantasy football fans out there were elated with that kind of workload, and they want to see that every single week. But it must be one, as you say yourself, that for Saquon himself, for his team, must be absolutely terrified. But is it one that you do look at and you take some solace from the fact that you had, a combined total of 14 pass attempts the entire game? And you were, as you quite rightly say, you were right in that game up until the dying moments of regulation. You were winning. So even with all that against you, it can't be all bad to be a Giants fan.
Well, I wouldn't go that far.
that was a big call.
I was trying my best.
No, I think you're right. There's a lot that went well, and to be fair, I think if conventional logic, of course, at the end of the game says you go to prevent defense. Actually, the way the Giants defense have been playing that game yesterday, they probably should have just kept on doing what they've been doing all game long. They had one dump off to Breece Hall that ended up going 50 yards for the Jets. Only scored up to that point. Other than that, it had been a pretty quiet day for the Jets offense. But yeah, obviously that's where we're at. I think from the offensive perspective, I think what's worrying though is that, I mean, you're right. When you lose a starting quarterback, and certainly when you go down to your third stringer, you don't have high hopes. But I think what's worrying is that the offense has become so one-dimensional. I mean, we mentioned Saquon's counted at 36 carries. I actually did a quick tally. They had 52 run plays the entire game across the whole team. There was no real confidence in Tommy DeVito to actually throw the ball, even in overtime. They had a holding penalty. So looking at 1st and 20, there wasn't really any attempt to try and convert, and it was looking at short dump-off plays. And I think certainly, we talked about, what moves will the Giants make. Even though they're a selling team, I think they do need to think there's plenty of fans out there be thinking, oh God, we should be tanking and looking forward to next season. The thing is, even if you're losing games, there still needs to be something to watch and think, could we do something? Could we, put up a fight? Could we in with a chance at the end of the game? There's a defense there that will do that, but with such an unbalanced offense that we saw yesterday, there is going to have to be something done just to try and remediate that. I mean, certainly, we don't know the full details on Taylor yet. Danny Dimes is not out for the season, but I mean, I think even another week of this is not going to sit well with Giants fans, even with the expectations as low as they are for this season.
It's the trick, and I say I can empathise wholeheartedly as somebody who's also suffering from the injured QB merry-go-round, but less about the Browns. I'm sure I'll get a chance to mention them later. Kev, Liam, a question for you guys on this game. Is Zach Wilson as crap as we think he is, or is he actually all right? Zach Wilson's box score, 17 for 36, so that in and of itself isn't all that impressive. 240 yards, a TD, no picks. He did get leveled a few times. As Thibodeau had a wee bit of a day, but you had him put up a 100-yard receiving day for Garrett Wilson, 76-yard receiving day along with a touchdown. Brees Hall, although Wilson wasn't the one who threw that touchdown. I can't actually remember who chucked. Oh no, it was Wilson that chucked it. I'm talking mints. And then a smattering of work down the line as well. Is Zach Wilson showing signs that he actually has a bit of a future in this league, perhaps? Kev, what do you think?
Yeah, I think so. I think we might have discussed this before after the Jets beat us. So thanks for taking me back there.
We walked in memory lane, mate.
I know. Yeah, I mean, I think the most impressive thing he done in that game was Gav touched on it there. The drive up the field to level it up and take it to overtime. That was clutch, as they say. It was pressure, and he just went and done his drill and moved them up the field. And I mean, it was a really tough day to put up points. Two really good defenses. It was like a worry attrition. And to come up with that drive when they really needed it showed that he's got something. How good he's going to be, I don't know. I said it before when we were talking about Purdy. I think it just all depends on what the team that you build around him, and that's the same for probably most quarterbacks. If you don't give them the weapons, you don't give them the protection, you don't give them a D that can get him back on the field, then he's not going to do much. But I think he's definitely got the potential, and he's slowly but surely starting to live up to the promise that he had.
An interesting one to see, because is anybody proclaiming Zach Wilson's going to be, next time, start of the NFL league? No, nobody's saying that. Nobody's making that promise. Functional starter, Liam.
Well,
functional starter. Can we go that far?
It's how he's got Wilson squared on the other side, catching the balls for you, doesn't it? So,
does.
But to be fair to him, as Kev, he's certainly this season. I mean, since he's been in, he's done like a good backup role job. Really, would you maybe say that? Maybe he's kept the team competitive to some degree in most games. He's kept them in most games from what I can see. So, I think. Is he now getting, is that coaching from Aaron Rodgers paying off now already? You never know.
Well, that's the big question, because obviously he does, and we all, I think most folk you haven't seen Hard Knocks, guys. It's well worth a watch. Folk listening, it's definitely well worth a wee look as Hard Knocks, because you see a lot of that mentoring, that coaching from Rodgers, which it does put things in a bit of a different light. It's also worth noting that as much as we were reasonably confident that Taylor Swift wasn't present for the Kansas City game, I'm equally confident that Donna Kelsey was present for the New York Jets game. So that was probably the thing I pushed over the edge. Right, okay, folks, we're going to keep things moving. We're going to go on to our final game of the week that we're going to look at. It was Vikes-Packers. The Vikes pick up a much-needed win, but was it worth the price that they paid? Liam, wasn't a good day at the office for you boys, but talk to me about it. What were your big talking points for the game?
I suppose straight off the back, it was both teams coming into a losing record, which was first time in ages. It was, but as I kind of alluded to earlier, I couldn't see the Packers winning this one the way we were playing, and it kind of came to be true quite easily. I don't know. It was the Vikings, all things considered, probably should be a lot further ahead than they were in the first half. We were, was it 10-3 at half time, but they'd missed a field goal, I'm sure. We had, I think they were first downs. I think we had like 0 maybe till the 4th minute into the second quarter or something like that. So they should have been far ahead of us. It just was. It was not first of all, from the Packers side of the ball, it just was not a pretty game again. First half again, scored 3 points. That's now, I think the stats are now since the last 5 games, it's 73 to 9 points. We've the difference in the first half. Yeah, as I say,
I'm gonna talk about that later, so I'm not gonna say anything about your first half record quite yet. That's coming.
But like, I suppose it was like a divisional game. We kept it kind of, well, I wouldn't say competitive, but the scoreline was competitive up to the first half. But then it was just the third quarter. The Vikes drove straight up the field. I think it was a 70-yard drive for a Hawkinson touchdown. Next play of the drive, we threw an interception, which, fair to Love, it was a contested ball, but Reed had the ball in his hands. Okay, he's falling backwards in the air, but he should have caught that. He should have kept that, or at least not made an interception out of it. So, and they ran up the field for 43 yards or so, and then another play later, I think it was Addison got the touchdown, and that was 24-3, and that was basically the game. Really, that was it.
And that was good night viewing at that point. It is. It must be one of the things that's as a fan, it must be one of the things that's disappointing, because you go in at halftime Green Bay, who leading into this week, okay, both teams are losing next, all the rest of it, but at the end of the day, the Vikings are still sat there. They've still got most of their starting offense. They're not completely riddled with injuries. They're relatively stable as an organization. Green Bay in a huge bit of flux, and you go in at the half within a score. You go in at a half, it's 10-7. 10-3, sorry. So, yeah, it's not great, but it's still there to be played for. And then you get one touchdown, the Vikes grab two, and before you know it, the whole thing's out of sight and you're done.
Yeah, it was just like, certainly when I was watching like the first half, we just couldn't get off the ball. We just don't play complementary football. We can't get first downs on the offense, and we can't get off the field on defense. Really, we're the amount of third downs. I think had a couple of third and longs Cousins made certainly the first couple of drives, and we just couldn't get off the field. Again, I suppose luckily we didn't really shift many points against us, but it's.
I don't know, but you shipped about 4 of them.
Well, eventually, but not the first half. I mean, but it's like and then there's a number of drops in the first half, so like the offense can't do anything, dropping the ball. I thought, to be fair to Love, I don't think he didn't have a bad game. Some of his throws I thought were quite nice. There was some major drops. Not saying he's definitely not, saying he's definitely a quarterback of the future yet, but it wasn't all on him. But we just can't. I think we came into the season thinking our defense should be able to keep us in games, which they kind of have done up this game and the Detroit game. We obviously lost by a good number of points in the end, but the other games, we've kept teams under 20 points, which for a defense is not bad, really. To keep offense.
One of these ones.
But
it's one of these tricky ones. Wins and losses are not quarterback stats, and it is the bit where Love will take a lot of the heat and he'll take a lot of flack, but got to look at the supporting cast.
Oh, that's right. We're just a young team, I think. But then again, that's not. I think the hardest thing for us at the moment is there's no progress. You can't see from game to game that we're getting any better anywhere, really.
You're looking for that growth.
So we'll see.
Okay, well, Gav, late as you, Liam, it's a tough old time to be a Green Bay fan, mate. It's a tough old time. Gav, Kev, going to come to you two for this. A final thought on the Vikes Packers game, and we couldn't discuss this game without mentioning Kirk Cousins. His Achilles is blown. That's him. He's done for the year. This is one that I certainly know that Vikes fans would have been looking at this game going, right, it is week 8's done and dusted. We're back to 500. The Lions have been shown a wee bit of weakness. This is still here for the taking. We can still kick on for here. But you lose Kirk Cousins. Now, we know they've lost JJ as well, but JJ should be back in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks in the outside, probably. Are the Vikes done? That is our big question. Gav, what do you think, mate? Is their goose cooked? Is that them stuffed?
No, I think I'm going to give the Vikes some credit. I think, they've done a lot to get themselves back to 500. And we talked about the loss of Jefferson already. You've seen there's Hawkinson and Addison and KJ Osborne all stepped up, had good games yesterday. They all picked up knocks. So yeah, not 100%, but I guess it's one of these things that what's your expectations here? We're not really talking about the Vikes as contenders. I'm not expecting them to catch the Lions up either, but that feels like a team that could still compete for a wild card if they get the right person in. It sounds like there's been a few names banded around Jameis Winston. It's certainly one that's come up. And like I say, if it's just about trying to keep a 4-4 team in contention, that might be good enough in a division where certainly you've got the you've got the Bears, you've got the Packers. You know, I think I can see the Vikes staying afloat.
Kev, what were you saying, mate? So this is the one where the as things stand, the Vikes are actually now on their QB3 because Nick Mullins has been an IR forever. I genuinely can't actually remember what injury Mullins is carrying. So it was Jaren Hall that was starting. Obviously, as Gav says, the rumour mill at the minute is saying it's bet that it looks like Jameis is the one. If the Vikes get Jameis in, are we... I don't think it'll be controversial to say the Vikes are still looking good for second place in their division. I don't think that would be controversial with Jameis under them. Are they one and done in the playoffs, though?
I suppose it depends what they do at quarterback. I agree with Gav. I don't think that their season's over. It's a blow losing Cousins. I think it'll be very interesting to see how they perform. You know, Cousins gets some stick sometimes from some people. And it'll be really interesting to see what another QB coming in there does with that team, because they do have weapons. They do have a good side. They are competitive. So to be honest, I really don't know what's going to happen. And I'm intrigued and I'm excited to see, you know, how they do over the coming games and the rest of the season. But I think that depending on who they put in there, if you get a steady, reliable QB, you know, kind of like what you're after in Cleveland, then I think they could. I think they could still make it to the playoffs, and who knows, maybe squeeze by around in the playoffs as well.
Okay, will certainly be interesting. They're one that a lot of people now are keeping a very, very close eye on as we move into deadline day tomorrow. Right, okay, folks. Well, that is us done with our big games of the week. And as I say, this Lecky ain't free, ladies and gentlemen. So it is time to move on to the rest in one. You have all heard this many, many times. You fine gentlemen have played this game many, many times as well by this point. So we are going to rattle our way through the rest of our Sunday night slate. And it is all about keeping it sweet, short, and punchy. Liam, we are starting with you. It was Thursday night football. It was the Bucks at the Bills. It was 18-24. Give me it in a one-liner, sir.
Hail Mary rules.
Woo! That was some game, to be fair, for Big Path. Love it. Yeah, that was class. Gav, we're going to keep the pace up here. It was the Jags at the Steelers. Jags winning that one 20-10.
Don't stop me now. I'm having a good time.
Yes. As a Evan Ingram fantasy owner, I was delighted with his performance. But yes, and I was also just delighted to see the Steelers lose. Kev, we are coming to you. It was the Rams at the Cowboys. It was 20-43. Give me it now. As much as you're about to have to say something nice about the Cowboys, which I know leaves a bad taste in your mouth, Kev. But on you go, mate.
I won't say anything good about the whole team. Let me see. Rams slaughtered by a little lamb.
Oh, that was quite good. I like that. And again, as a proud CD Lamb fantasy football owner, I definitely liked it. Right, it is to me, and I felt it was only fair if I'm going to make Kev say something nice about the Cowboys. I suppose I need to say something nice about the Cincinnati Bengals. It was Bengals at Niners. It was 31-17. And you know what? I'm a bottle merchant. I'm not saying something nice about the Bengals. Slide down the slide. The Niners go. 3-game losing streak. Ooh, my. Okay. Liam, we are coming back to you, mate. It was Falcons at Titans. It was 23-28.
Levis pick 101.
I normally try not to do this with the wrestling one. But Will Levis, gentlemen, who's seen that coming?
It's just
Rookie of the year. Rookie of the year.
Or is it just there's no film on them yet? Is that all it is? Who knows?
That's Rookie of the year. Second coming up, Brady. Gav, it was the Pats at the Dolphins. It was 17-31.
Oh, it's got to be King of the Hill. Tyreek's the fastest player to 1,000 yards in the Super Bowl era. He's on track, ladies and gentlemen, for 2,155 yards this season.
He really just is frighteningly good, isn't he, guys? Right, Kev, it was the Saints at the Colts, 38-27.
That's my Inspector Gadget theme tune.
I feel horrendous. I should have got that. That's a belter.
Taysom Hill, Gadget Man, phenomenal.
How underappreciated is he as a player? By the way, he is.
I know you're an owner of Taysom Hill in a couple of.
I am.
I also have Taysom Hill in a couple of weeks. So I love the guy.
Right, okay, so it's back to me. It was Texans at Panthers, and this kitty's got claws. And the Panthers finally clock up their first win. It was the Rookie Bowl. They won it 15-13. Well done to the Panthers, getting themselves on the board. Liam, for your final foray, it was Chiefs at Broncos, and it was 9-24 Broncos victory. Give me a one-liner.
I was going to say something about the Broncos theme songs at the end of the game, but Flew Mahomes probably would sum it up, I suppose.
Yeah. Oh, I'm convinced Mahomes has got the plague. That illness has to be plague. It's the only explanation. Gav, your final one for yourself, mate. It was Ravens at Cardinals. It was 31-24. Give me a one-liner, sir.
This is low-hanging fruit, but cooking with Gus.
Oh.
three touchdowns for Mr. Edwards keys the Ravens win.
That's the kind of quality broadcasting that you listen in for, ladies and gentlemen. Kev, last one for yourself. It was the Bears at the Chargers. It was the late game. It was 13-30. One-liner, mate.
Bears can't pay the charge.
Wait, Bears are just absolutely much maligned at the minute and they deserve it. The Bears. Right, and then to round us off, ladies and gentlemen, it was, and it had to be me that does it because I need to be a big boy and face up to it. It was Browns at Seahawks. It was 20-24. Kevin, 3rd and 3, run the damn ball. And with that, I don't feel any better after saying it, sadly. Right, okay, we are building to the end, guys. We are going to move this one on. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would feel bad about it's not so much a statistic of the week as it is just the sad state of affairs for Green Bay. And I would apologise to Liam for bringing this up, but Liam is the one that mentioned it first. So I don't feel that I need to apologise. So, much has been said about the sad state of many team seasons. And none, like the Bears, for example. We all enjoy picking on the Bears because it's hilarious. But it does have to be said that Green Bay's first halves throughout the year are surely historically bad. So, to give you all a rundown, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Packers' first half drives since week 3 against the Saints. And this is excluding kneel downs or one-play runs before halftime. We have got punt, field goal, punt, interception, punt, end of half, punt, field goal, punt, interception, punt, missed field goal, punt. Don't worry, the last one, field goal. I feel bad for making you relive it, Liam, but it is historically.
I'll say thank you to. I stole that from. Well, not stole it. Got that from Andy Herman, who does one of the Packers podcasts. If he tracks the team, so yeah, he posted that up, and it was too good not to quote to you guys. So yeah, big thank you for that.
Absolutely, big shout out to Andy Herman for putting that one out there so it could be brought to our attention. Right. Okay, with that all said, folks, that brings our review of week 8 to a close. We are rapidly working our way to half time, ladies and gentlemen. It is nearly halfway through the year. Now, remember, folks, you can keep up with the crew on Twitter. We are at Irn-Cru. You can keep up with us on Insta, grid_iron_crew. YouTube, Twitch, just at Gridiron-Crew in. Wherever you get your podcasts, Gridiron-Crew is the place to go to make sure you stay up to date with all things NFL. And it has been another fantastic week of football. It is not quite finished yet. Obviously, we have got Lions and Raiders tonight to look forward to. And then remember, folks, your week 9 of NFL football begins on Thursday night with the preview crew. And if you can't listen live on Thursday, you can pick them up wherever you get your podcasts first thing Friday morning. Now, gentlemen, it has been an absolute pleasure to have you on and to talk all things NFL again. Gav, thank you very much for joining me, sir.
Thank you.
Liam, I know that it's not been the funnest year for you to talk football, mate, but I thank you for standing up to the challenge and bearing the burden of Green-based performances on your broad shoulders.
Yeah, it was like a mini counselling session. It was fine. It was all good.
That's what we're here for. It's a service we provide. And Kev, as much as Liam might come here for counsel, and you just come here to deliver counsel to all who will listen to you espouse the wisdom that you have as a devoted fan of your Philadelphia Eagles. Thank you for joining us, mate.
A pleasure as always, Brian.
And thank you all for listening, ladies and gentlemen. And until next time, we will see you then.